Hey everybody, it's Karen Anderson here with Aortic Hope, and this is our weekend review. It feels like it's been forever since I've been here because it kind of has. Yeah, I was gone a lot of September, which was Aortic Disease Awareness Month, but I am back, and I don't know if I'm going to be here by myself. We always have surprise guests that pop in, which makes it very exciting. But our weekend review is done so that individuals who are not on social media, on Facebook or whatnot, have an opportunity to get a chance to read the information that we've been sharing. Some of it's just really lighthearted and fun, and a lot of it is educational and informational stuff, and kind of chime in, give us your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, and that's kind of why we do it. We want people who are not necessarily on certain forms of social media to have a chance to receive that awareness and education and support that all of the others do in that real time. So one of the key things here is that you click like and you share this information, and of course comment, because today we are giving away a $25 gift certificate to Lawrence Hope Medical ID Jewelry. And one of the things I love about this relationship with them is that they're always evolving and growing, and they're not just a medical ID organization that caters to women or to individuals who really want glitzy, sparkly stuff, which I kind of really love. They've got all kinds of product lines to really fit all of your needs and your tastes, and they're very knowledgeable. So they have a whole shopper division that you can just give them a call. They're very knowledgeable now about aortic disease, and ask them to kind of help you through the process of determining what the best acronyms would be to put on the back of your ID bracelet. So we, again, have $25 gift certificate we will be giving away hopefully today to someone. If anybody pops on live and interacts with us, we will do that at the end of our recap. And if you are joining us in a recap and you're not live with us and you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them in that comment section. And again, like and share the information and content you're going to see today. So let's kick it off. This is going all the way back. We are going back actually to September 26th, where we are again wrapping up that final week of information for Aortic Disease Awareness Month. And just to give some context, there are a lot of people who focus on September 19th, which was originally designated as Aortic Dissection Awareness Day. And I think it's kind of turned into Aortic Disease Awareness Day. And that's great. It's always great to have a day. And there are some organizations who focus just on the week. And they also just focus primarily on thoracic aortic disease, or aneurysms and dissections in the thoracic area. And so the key here is the aorta, it doesn't really differentiate. It's one vessel. It's a long vessel. It's an important highway of your body that feeds the blood, oxygenated blood, to all of your organs, basically. And we kind of recognized here at Aortic Hope that you need an entire month to really be able to process the information that goes around aortic disease. There's a lot there, starting with bicuspid aortic valves all the way down to any other type of valve disease, aneurysms, dissections, whether it's thoracic or abdominal, because just because you have something in the abdominal area doesn't mean it isn't going to happen in the thoracic or upper area. We've covered genetics, emotional concerns, medications. So there's so much to discuss that we have kind of made that decision to bring the community more into an entire month's worth of awareness. So let's get right into it. And it was Monday on the 26th, and it was Medical Monday, and we were talking about pump head. Now, pump head is a term that's often used within the community. I think people kind of describe their short-term memory issues coming out of specifically open heart surgery, and they coined this phrase pump head. And it was defined in Very Well Health in an article written by Richard Forgoros, Dr. Richard Forgoros, that was titled Cognitive Impairment After Bypass Surgery. Now, just because dissection isn't bypass, it's still open heart. We're still on a heart-lung machine to get us through that surgery. So Dr. Forgoros, and if I'm butchering the name, I apologize, he said that pumphead got this name really because the presumption was that cognitive impairment after bypass surgery was related to the use of the cardiopulmonary bypass pump during the procedure. And that was what I just mentioned. So it's important to understand what actually cognitive impairment really means. And Dr. Forgoros explains that this may include any or all of the following. It could be poor attention span, poor memory, poor decision making, an inability to concentrate, reduced speed of movement, just a general overall impairment that can occur. And we're going to open up this article here a little bit and get into this a little bit more. But there are some other severe symptoms that can happen, and overt delirium that is seen rarely, but most of these symptoms of pumphead occur quite soon after surgery, but it might not be something that you notice right away. So it really happens fairly quickly, but can resolve fairly gradually. And I think most of the stuff that we've heard in the community that people complain about or talk about is just that short-term memory. It's, where did I put my keys? Did I shut the garage door? Where was I driving? What's that word? They can't find a word. Now, this happens to everybody. We know this, except when it happens to somebody after open heart surgery. I think there's a couple things that come into play. One, if it was an emergency surgery, our anxiety has already been exasperated. And if you can't come up with a word or something feels different, your anxiety becomes even more exasperated. And then your short-term memory becomes worse. So it's this cycle and it plays off of one another. Now, I have spoken with a cognitive neuropsychiatrist, I believe, it's a very long name, a couple times now about this phenomenon. And what he said to me, and his name was Dr. Testa. I always want to say Tesla, but it was Mark Testa. What he had said to me is, without the evidence of microbursts or micro bleeds in the brain, which do come initially from a dissection or from the oxygen that just it remains in the tubes when we're connected to the bypass machine. Without any evidence of that, then he feels that attributing a majority of the short-term memory to pumphead is not necessarily accurate. He thinks a lot more of it could be due to PTSD or anxiety. So what the recommendations that were given to me were to work on that anxiety and PTSD and see if there wasn't some sort of improvement. So years later, after my dissection, I did just that. I went for PTSD therapy. I did work on anxiety. And I will say I found that the pumphead issues were improving. In addition, a lot of medications when we come out of the hospital tend to weigh us down, make us foggy in the brain, make us a little bit more exhausted and tired. And now that could play a part into this pumphead phenomenon. But we would love to hear from you. We'd love to know, what is your experience with pumphead? Is it similar to what we're hearing? What were you able to do to kind of fix it? Some things that I know you can do to help with the cognitive issues is play Lumosity on your phone. Now, it is an app that is free. You can play 3 games a day. If you want to play any more than that, it's going to cost some money. But the 3 games really deal with a lot of different areas within the brain, whether it's processing, it can be some mathematics, it can be some words analytics. It covers a variety of things. And I don't know too much about the brain, but it works. It's very helpful. It's helpful in that it gives you confidence that you are doing better, that cognitively you are a lot more aware and with it than what you think. And I guess my personal advice to somebody would be, if you think you're experiencing pumphead, take a minute, take a deep breath. Try to ground yourself, because you should have learned grounding techniques. If not, then you need to go learn that. Take a second and breathe and see if it doesn't come to you, if the word doesn't come to you, if the thought doesn't come to you. And you know what? If it doesn't, who cares? Like, the moment's passed anyway, right? The things you need to really worry about are things like you can't remember how to get home from someplace that you're used to going to. You can't remember if you're taking your medications. You can't remember if you've left the oven on, if you left a burner on. Those things are going to be a little bit potentially more problematic, and there's still tips that you can do to fix that. Sometimes when you lower a garage door, placing your hand on the door after it's shut. Connecting a physical movement with a thought reinforces that it's happened. Writing things down. Many people hate it, but when you write things down, you tend to remember that thought a lot better than just saying, I'm going to remember it. It never works. Write it down. It reinforces your memory in capturing that information. So you can talk to a therapist, you can talk to a cognitive neuropsychiatrist. That's what they do. They specialize in this, but pump head is a thing. It's not talked about a lot. It's not anything that you're going to be prepared to experience unless you're part of an organization that provides this type of support and lets you know about it ahead of time. But it is not something that you should be too jarring unless you've had a stroke. This is a whole other different category of memory issues, but there is help. There is ways to combat it. There are tools and techniques and tricks, but number one, try to get any of your anxiety or PTSD under control. Medical Monday. Okay, we've got to say hi to a couple people. Who do we have with us today? Hey, Kristen. Hey, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. Oh, and I want to say hi to Mike too. Thanks so much for popping on. If you have any thoughts, if you are individuals who have experienced pump head, please comment below and let us know if you've had it and how you've kind of worked through it, what some of your techniques are. So, Kristen, you hate pump head. So do I. Except I'll tell you, I'm getting ready to hit my 8th aortiversary. And in the beginning, it scared me so much when I couldn't remember where I was going. I was just down the street and so many other things. And I started logging it and sharing it with the doctor and realized, one, I was on too much medication. As soon as I got off of labetalol and went to bystolic, see, I almost forgot that word. It's like this cloud lifted. That was the first change for me. The second change was going to EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, specific PTSD therapy. It started improving even more. So there was definitely something to some of the advice that I was given. So if you haven't tried that, you may want to try it and see if it doesn't alleviate some of your symptoms. Other times it's great. You just tell people I can't remember. It's kind of like when your parents start to lose their hearing and then they just tune you out. It's selective hearing. I just call it selective memory. Works for me sometimes. So Ryan is mentioning to us, I guess you had some vision issues when you woke up from your surgery. Yeah, we do hear about a lot of vision issues that happen. I'm not too sure about immediately following surgery, and I'm not too sure if you suffered any type of uh, like I guess you can have a type of a stroke in an optic nerve or in a blood vessel around there, but there's a lot of conversation around auras that happen and specific type of visual migraines. They don't necessarily come with headaches. They just can literally your whole vision can go. Sometimes it's floaters, sometimes it's zigzags, sometimes it's just gone. But it sounds like maybe your vision came back. I can't tell by your comment, but that's so wonderful that it did come back by the end of the day. And that's, I mean, talk about having anxiety right when you come out from surgery to have something like that. That had to have been extremely scary, but I'm glad that that all worked out for you. Mike. So Mike, post-perfusion and a stroke, those are some serious issues to experience. I think what fascinates me the most about talking with people that have aortic disease or have had a dissection or have aneurysms is that we're so similar and yet so different. My situation, 5 hours later, I was out. 5 days later, I was home. My problems didn't start till about a year after when I started having many TIAs and other issues that occurred for me later. But it is fascinating. There's so many people with some real tough stories you hear uh, during recovery or during surgery. So yeah, I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. That just compounds any anxiety or stress that you have, around this. I'm sorry for that, but thank you so much for sharing. Hi. I'm sorry, there was a specific resolution therapy? art resolution therapy for PTSD. I have always wanted to try art therapy, but I am writing that down, art resolution therapy, because I love art. And when I came out, and I wasn't even aware I had PTSD yet, I started painting. Well, first I was knitting, and then I was like, I'm too young to be knitting. This is crazy. So I moved in back into art, and I always liked art. And I was just brush painting because I differentiate that from the paint pours I do. But and the first one that I did was so dark. It was very abstract, blacks, grays, a little bit of red. And then when I was done all of my PTSD therapy, I painted again, and I didn't even think about it. And the colors I went for were oranges and yellows and gorgeous teals. And I went back because I knew I painted originally something else, and I could not believe it was my version of journaling, how dark of a place I was in and how light it was when I came out on the other side. So yes, I think I think that you just gave me a great idea. It might be time to find a therapist who specializes in art resolution therapy or art therapy in general for PTSD. And maybe let's try some of that stuff online. It's probably be a lot easier than doing EMDR online, but I'm open for any type of therapy if it's going to help people feel better. Yeah, there's a lot of occupational and physical therapy that can be involved. And it's interesting. I was just speaking with a thoracic surgeon recently, and some of the questions in the community are, why isn't cardiac rehab just given as the golden standard? And it's given when you have heart surgery, but it's not given with aortic. So I don't understand. But this surgeon seems to think it's not necessary to go through cardiac rehab, that when you're ready to just start a lower aerobic, low level exercise routine is just as good, because he doesn't really believe in having anybody hooked up to the blood pressure monitor that often and feeling hostage to that. So before I could get into cardiac rehab, I did do physical therapy, and I think it was amazing. Uh, Day one, we started with breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, controlling your breath, feeling confident in your breath. And we also learned how to have posture. Now, the first 12 weeks, you can't have proper posture because you can't even stretch your sternum. But having that confidence, having somebody sit with me just to help me sit still with my breath. I didn't feel like I was a ghost. That's a whole other topic for another day, but I felt more alive in that moment with breath work than I had before. So you are right. There's a lot of different types of therapies I think that people in the aortic community go through. That's a really good point. Okay, I thought when we said art, we were meaning art, like I'm going to draw a picture, but it means accelerated resolution therapy, which is something I will say I've never heard of. So not only will I look into art therapy, but I will look into accelerated, thank you for the correction, resolution therapy, because I've never heard of that. And we are always looking to share with the community different modalities and ways to help yourself. So thank you for that correction, Kristen. So this is evidently similar to EMDR, and haven't heard of it. Really excited to know, because I'm a big believer too in getting a tune-up. So just because I finished my weeks of EMDR doesn't mean that something might slip through the cracks and trigger me in the future. And so to have options, whether it's EMDR or accelerated resolution therapy, which art or art therapy, they're always good to know about these options. So thank you. We appreciate that. I Yes, another thought. Okay, so I guess, yeah, having a stroke because of or during your surgery ended up triggering epilepsy. That's interesting thought, and not something I've really heard of happening. However, if there's something that's already in your DNA or your makeup, various traumatic events that happen to the body can trigger that and turn that on. So it's not that the surgery gave somebody epilepsy or Crohn's disease or lupus, but it can trigger those cells to become activated. So I'm so sorry that that happened, but I've heard a couple of people in the community where, you know, it's like the egg or the chicken, like, well, chicken or the egg. Which one comes first? Was it a dormant condition, and then this turned it on, turned that light switch on, or was it there and it's hard to tell. That's really hard to tell. And does it really matter at the end of the day? And now it's just a second condition that you need to deal with, which has got to be really frustrating. Sorry for that. All right. We're going on to Topic Tuesday. I love this. Thank you so much for interacting. Now I don't feel like I'm here by myself. All right, Topic Tuesday. Still wrapping up the end of Aortic Disease Awareness Month. So the most common methods for visualizing an aneurysm and a dissection is echocardiogram or transesophageal echocardiography, which is a TEE, transesophageal echocardiography. Say that 3 times fast and try not to stumble. Or a CT scan. Or an MRA, actually. So those are the 4 most common, and X-rays really not going to give you any details that you need. And EKG certainly isn't going to tell you what you need. But having that baseline test is going to usually come from an echo, or it's going to come from a TEE, which is it's kind of like it's an echo, but it's right there. It's like gets as close as possible. You're asleep for a TEE. They go down your throat and they get right up there against your vessels. A CT scan, which is quick, but it does involve a lot of radiation and dye, and some people are allergic to that dye. Or an MRA, which can take longer, and there's a lot of more breath holds. Now, you have to know, with each of these, you might have varying answers, numbers, measurements, and that's okay. A million different things go into these tests. When you took your breath, when your heartbeat happened. So I never go by any of these test results. I always wait for my surgeon to say, here's the result, because he actually physically measures it. And again, one of the most important things about having these tests, repeat tests, is to always go to the same place to have that same test done, because it's in the same machine. It's going to be done typically probably by the same technician or 2 or 3, and read by the same doctor when the report is written. So number 1, have your test done at the same facility if possible, whenever possible. And don't freak out when you get your test results. Let your doctor tell you what they say it is. So just take it from somebody who has to read all the reports and makes herself crazy. But we thought you might find it really interesting to see pictures of what these things are that take place within the community. So this is from, I'm going to butcher the name because that's what I do, Domenico Gruoso. See, that's what happens when you come back from a foreign country. You think that you can speak with an accent. This is from ResearchGate, and this is actually what a TEE, transesophageal echocardiography or echocardiogram, looks like of an aortic aneurysm. Do I have any idea what this is? I have no idea. But this, I do know that this is your aorta. This is a big aneurysm right here. Our aortas are big. They really are, but they're not supposed to be this big. So this is what the picture looks like. It's kind of looking similar to that of an echo, but that's what your interventional radiologist is going to see. This second picture is from Eric Isselbackhofer. Does that sound like the right last name? I don't know. This is from Circulation. This is showing a CT of a descending thoracic aortic aneurysm. So this is past the arch. This is descending, coming down in the upper chest wall. And so here you go. This is your ascending aorta. If you see the cursor's coming up, and this is the descending aorta. So this is again showing that there is some growth, some enlargement in there. Okay, picture 3 is from Eric, again, of Circulation. This is showing an MRA of an ascending thoracic aortic aneurysm. And so you see how you've got different types of pictures. This is very different type of picture, the sliced picture here, than that of this picture, which is more intact from the CT. So they're going to give different types of results. However, let your doctor do the measurements, because even if you go for an echo versus an MRA, they're measuring differently. Sometimes you measure from within the wall of the aorta on one side to the outside of the other side. Sometimes it's both inside. That's what we're going to school for, that is all about. Our goal here was just to show you what the different pictures actually look like. So that was on Tuesday. Now we then turned around, and on Wednesday, we wanted to show you a couple other pictures representing the same thing again. So this one is from Daniel Haas. I guess this is from the University of Maryland Department of Education, and this is an echo of an actual dissection. And so you can see right here, this is your dissection flap. So if you think about the tube of your aorta, when it dissects, part of it rips down. And this is going all the way down the tube. Part of it splits, a dissection. So this is seeing it from, it's, I guess, almost looking into the tube, I believe. If you showed me this picture, I for all I know, I'm looking at my liver. I can't tell. I don't know. I only know it would be on my heart because they'd have the wand on my heart. But it's amazing that what they're able to see from these pictures, right? This second one is from Dr. Clark of the Cleveland Clinic. And this is actually showing a CT of a descending thoracic aortic dissection. This, I think, is extremely clear. So the first set of pictures we showed on Tuesday was of aneurysms. These are of dissections, and the T's and F's. Okay, so here is the aorta coming out of the heart, and it is ascending up. And then there is your arch, where you see these vessels underneath the Pinterest symbol. Those vessels branch off into the head. Okay, they're coming into the head and neck. This is the descending. And you see this line? This line's not supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be there. Okay, so this shows you the T and F are the lumens, the channels that are formed in the aorta. T is for true, F is for false. F means it's not really going anywhere. It's not feeding any of this oxygen-rich blood to any organs. The true lumen, the true, is. That is where the oxygen is then able to flow off into the other branches. So, and typically I think the false lumen ends up being a little bit larger, but I can't really speak for all the time. So you can see there it is there, clear as day. Okay, the third picture, I feel very medical right now. The third picture is from Shalmali Pal from antmini.com. This is showing an MRA of a descending aortic dissection. So again, a little bit more detail because you've got a picture of your spine in here, or not your spine, I'm sorry, your ribs are what are showing in here, and some other organs. And so here you can see, again, coming up out of the heart, it's even pointing to where the dissection flap is. And you've got your true lumen on the left side feeding all of the other organs, and the false lumen basically dead ends and leads to nowhere. And the false lumen will sometimes thrombose, which is another word for clot. But this is a good clot. This is a way of stopping that dead end and thus pushing more of that blood into the true lumen. So I find all of this just so fascinating. So hope you did too. And now next time when you get your scans, no reason why you shouldn't ask your doctor, hey, can you show me my scan? Show me a little bit about me. What's going on in my body? I personally think that it helps with recovery. It helps with being your own advocate and really taking charge of your own health when you know what's going on inside your own body. So that was Wisdom Wednesday. Okay, Think Aorta Thursday. Think Aorta Thursday. So on September 29th, we just wanted to share with you another organization, Think Aorta US. Think Aorta was actually started in the UK and Ireland. It was an initiative by another organization, and it was brought here to the United States. Initially, as an initiative, our goal was to launch our own altered posters with our own groups of organizations that endorsed this very simple yet effective campaign. And then it quickly became its own nonprofit within the United States. And we hold true to the branding that's original from the UK and Ireland. This is a proven initiative. 2 words. It doesn't get any more simple than Think Aorta. And while Think Aorta is primarily focused on aortic dissection and the timeliness for accurate diagnosis, I kind of look at this whole campaign as having a preactive, proactive, and a reactive just buckets to this organization. So when you're being proactive when it comes to Think Aorta, that means we want to be able to identify individuals who are at risk for potentially having an aneurysm or at risk for a dissection, because we now know you don't need an aneurysm to have a dissection. So how do we determine who's at risk? This could be genetic. It could be if you know that there are people in your family who have had heart disease, stroke, breast cancer, other forms of aneurysms, that could potentially put you at risk for having an aneurysm or a dissection. So we want to be proactive and take it back a step, and let's try to find these individuals and let's get them properly identified and have a scan, a baseline scan of any of the ones we mentioned above. Then it becomes proactive work and making sure that individuals are properly monitored and followed up so that we can identify any issues, such as if someone's developing high blood pressure or if someone does develop an aneurysm, that they are followed even more closely. And then in the event somebody needs to have surgery or they feel that they are becoming unwell and they might be having a dissection, we want people to be very reactive. Take charge, be your own advocate, and share all of this information with the hospital system. Let them know you are at high risk potentially to have an aneurysm or dissection. The goal is to have people be moved through that emergency system a lot quicker and have a much sooner diagnosis, thus reducing mortality rate, which is why the whole hashtag Think Aorta, Think Family was born. We want people in the community. We want to get you all to a place where you're sharing your medical history and you're being proactive and sharing that with your family physician and with people around you, because if you are potentially at risk, you need to have loved ones around you that know this. So if there is an emergency, the information can be shared with a first responder. So this is basically a copy of the poster that is used in the United States. It talks about all of the symptoms that can occur, although this is not your set in stone, because there are people who have no symptoms at all. They don't have pain. They just feel a little off. Traditionally, people that are having a dissection feel a ripping, tearing sensation. And just know that the items that are on this poster are specific for dissections, okay? So you're not going to feel things necessarily with an aneurysm or with a bicuspid valve. But it talks about the symptoms, how the pain may feel, how things would present on a physical examination, what the risk factors are for developing a dissection, and the specific tests that you should be looking to have done. In addition, these are the organizations that are fully endorsing the Think Aorta organization here in the US, and that would be the American College of Emergency Physicians, the Society for Vascular Surgery, the Society for Thoracic Surgeons, the Eastern Cardiothoracic Surgical Society, and the Eastern Vascular Society. So these are all the top dog societies that your surgeons and your physicians are going to be part of, and they are fully endorsing the idea of thinking about the aorta. And you can pick up posters for free by going to thinkaortaus.org and just filling out a form. We also have an opportunity with a donation to receive a magnet or a mask or a t-shirt, and you can bring these posters into your doctor's offices. And please check them out, like and follow them, share their information. This is just one of the many ways that you, as part of the Aortic Hope community, can help be reactive and proactive before anybody ends up getting to us as part of the catcher's mitt. So Think Aorta, very simple concept and very effective. And that was our Thursday. All right, we're moving on to Friday. Now, Friday was our Feel Good Friday day, as I'm scrolling and making everybody nauseous as I go up and down. Feel Good Friday. See this picture? This is an interesting picture because one of the things that we need to talk about is invisible disabilities and what that means. And there's invisible disabilities are very difficult because looking at many of us, nobody would ever know what we've been through or what we are on the watch and wait list to go through. So I just thought that that was very interesting in the visual graphic. But a lot of individuals in this community have either been diagnosed with an aneurysm, and they're on a watch and wait situation, or they've been diagnosed with a syndrome or connective tissue disorder, maybe with Marfan syndrome, vascular Ehlers-Danlos, Loeys-Dietz, Turner syndrome, ACTA2, the list goes on. Maybe you've been diagnosed with BAV, or bicuspid aortic valve, which means there's 2 leaflets instead of 3, or you've had scheduled surgery, or you've even survived a dissection. But in this community, there's also incredible caregivers as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we all have this, and yet we all seem to live our lives very differently, some with restrictions and some without. But one thing that we have in common is we're very aware of the seriousness of this disease. And the question comes into play is, even with this invisible disability or less than ability, we need to figure out how to live our best life. And so in this article that was titled How to Live Well with a Chronic Illness from Amy Dices, or I'm going to butcher that again because that's what I do. They really explain a variety of ways that we can all live our best lives with a chronic condition. And so we can talk about some of these here a little bit, but to go through the list fairly quickly, you want to make sure you're getting emotional support, number one. And you can get that you can get referrals from your physicians. You should look to an organization in the community. Facebook pages are great. They're easy. You just jump on. You can ask your questions. Sometimes they're private, sometimes they're public pages, but there is a lot to be said for being able to have a support group that you can join. And I can tell you honestly, I've not heard of many brick and mortar support groups. If there were some, they are no longer, because we're in the day of COVID. So one of the things that sets Aortic Hope apart is that we do offer numerous support group meetings. We have 2 a month for patients or caregivers. Anybody, it's open to anybody. We have 2 that are closed and specific for caregivers only. And then we have 1 every other month that are for individuals who have lost loved ones or friends. So you can find your support in one of those support groups, and all that information is on our website as well. It's very important to follow your doctor's plan of care. I can't tell you how many times I hear that people are taking too many pills and they don't want to take pills and they want to go back to doing these crazy workouts, and we hear it all. It's critical you follow your doctor's plan of care. End of sentence. End of sentence. If you want to live your very best life, follow their plan of care. Having said that, if you're not feeling great from your medicines, share it. There is a plethora of medications out there. Doctors can work their chemistry and come up with something, come up with a solution. There's no reason why you shouldn't have the highest quality of your life possible. And that is going to be different from you and different from me, different for everybody. To make small changes to your diet. If you had a cold, they would say that to you. If you got skin cancer, they would say that to you. That's the way it should be. We should all be making probably some small changes to our diet, which means probably shouldn't have had my Little Debbie brownies this morning. Okay, keep moving. You got to move. We talk about this every other Monday. We started a movement of movement. We started this back in 2020 before COVID even hit. We recognize the importance of movement. I'm not talking about sweaty exercise. Movement, moving your body, keeping the circulation going, and not falling victim to cardiac coma, because we can all get so scared and just stop moving. But it's important to move. Whatever your doctor's cleared you to do. Drink more water. You hear it all the time. We all could drink more water. So whatever you're drinking, whatever you're doing, go get a glass of water when this is over. I've got water sitting right here. So water it's very important. And no, iced tea doesn't count as water. Neither does Coke. Water. Listen to your body. This is very important too. It's okay if all you can do is give 20% of yourself. It doesn't matter. Just put 100% effort into that 20. If you have to stop and you're done, be done. Don't push yourself to the limit, because that's when people get hurt. That's when you went too far and you're going to have to struggle to come back. Focus on your goals. You should have goals. I have goals all the time. I'm already planning trips into 2024, because if I don't set these goals, then I'm fearful they may not happen. So I like to have the goal, make sure I'm making myself as healthy as possible, doing what I need to do financially, physically, spiritually, mentally, to make the goals happen. Manage your stress. It doesn't matter what condition you have. It doesn't matter if you don't have a condition. stress will wreak havoc on your body, and it's very important to manage it. You have to make sleep a priority, especially in the early days of recovery. Sleep and eating protein, two very important things that are going to help you recover well from the entire day and be supercharged for the next day. And learn new things. Learn new things. And hey, while you're learning the new things, laugh. I learned art. I learned accelerated resolution therapy. See, I learned something new today, and I've laughed about it because I thought it was something completely different. Practice acceptance. Accept where you are. It's okay. And it may be temporary. This aortic disease that we all have is like an ocean. It ebbs and it flows. And that's one of the goals of Aortic Hope is we try to meet you where you are in this recovery process, but you have to learn to accept where you are. And one of the things that we find is we have a lot of people in the community, they're very active, and then they're gone. And then maybe they come back because they had a scan and they're having scanxiety and they're concerned about the outcomes, and then they go away again. And that's growth. That's accepting where you are in this process. Also find extra support, whether it's within your friends, your family, or within this community. Those are all very important things that are going to help you feel better and help you manage your situation. I always lose my cursor on double screens here. Okay. All right. We are going to move on to, where are we here? Let's see. We're officially on October 1st at this point. So we were shouting out a very big thank you to the community. Thank you to all of you. And I can say it now. Thank you for your support. Aortic Disease Awareness Month. That's a lot of days of information. That's a lot for us to provide to you. It's a lot for you to have to digest. In that time period, we didn't just give you articles and education. Prior to September, we asked everybody on whatever forms of social media to change your profile pic into either our logo or any logo related to aortic disease. And we thank you so much because we saw it. We saw it. We saw seas of red hearts. We saw seas of aortic awareness ribbons. We saw so much, and we heard people asking, what is this? What's happening in the community? And that's the goal, right? We want people to ask, what is this? So that we can start sharing with them information about aortic disease, because it is so much more common than anyone realizes. Dissections are rare, but aortic disease is very common. So here's some of the other things we did in September. We provided information about aortic aneurysms, dissections, pre-op and post-op support, emotional well-being, genetics 101. We gave you information about Think Aorta. We showcased our 4th annual Community Hope campaign video. So I hope you guys got a chance to check that out. It's such amazing. It's such an amazing feeling to see everybody who participated and just see them as symbols of hope for everyone in the community. Over September, we hosted 2 live Q&A events, and we hosted 4 different support group meetings. We obviously posted many educational pieces, and we posted these from our collaboration with the Society of Thoracic Surgeons, the American Heart Association, and numerous other hospitals. And we also had a lot of fun contests, and we're still going strong. So we gave away $50 worth of Lawrence Hope gift certificates. We're doing another $25 today. And we also sent out over 90 awareness bracelets, which is incredible. And we gave away $50 worth of Hope swag. So we hope you enjoyed all of your time with us for the month of September. You know, our goal is to connect hearts one beat at a time. We're always we're a free organization, and no one on our board takes any salary, and 100% of the money that is donated to us are used towards our efforts for the month of September, for 31 Days of Hope and Joy in December, for everything that we do and we're able to provide for you. So if you would like to donate, please do so with the link above, or you can go onto our website and there is a donate button at the top as well. Everything that we do, and we are all patients on the board, excluding one member who is a strong supporter and caregiver. We're all patients and survivors just like you. And what we do is really because of you. So thank you for making us the post-diagnosis patient advocacy organization of choice. That's our big thank you. That really wrapped up our month of September. And then we rolled right in. We rolled right into October. I don't know if there's a saying. Like there's a saying, I think, in spring, right? April showers bring May flowers, or something else in another month where something roars in like a lion. For all I know, it's two birds in a hand and a stone and sixpence. I screw all of those things up all the time. Just saying. All right. Survivor Series. If you didn't get a chance, you really want to check out this Survivor story from Tammy Brown. Really interesting story. It's incredible. She had a type A dissection and crashed 6 times on the table. And this was in the thick of COVID. So you couldn't have any visitors. It was just, anybody who got sick in COVID. Oh God, how gut wrenching for all of you. But you can just click the link on our website and check out her story. It is something else. And we're going to talk about how you can be featured as one of our survivors as well in a minute. This led us to Sunday, and it was a Rare Patient Sunday. We have got such a great relationship with a local to Maryland organization called Rare Patient Voice. So Aortic Hope was started and chartered out of Virginia. We have board members stretching as far north as Ohio and Connecticut, and we're all the way down into Virginia and Maryland. We have Hope ambassadors all over the country, actually all over the globe. They come from other countries as well. But Rare Patient Voice, I personally found them a couple years ago as a member of the Crohn's and colitis community. They were at an event and I met up with them, and it's a great organization that gives you an opportunity to have your voice heard, and your voice can actually make change. This is how prescriptions are packaged, how care is given, how education is provided in clinic settings, in universities. So many things that we do are affected by the opinions of those who have experienced it. So what Rare Patient Voice does is they provide patients and caregivers an opportunity to voice their opinion about services and goods that pertain to your personal disease. And you can have multiple, and it doesn't have to be a rare disease because they cover non-rare as well. But the more conditions you have, the more items you can check off in their form, and the more surveys will be provided to you. Let me go into that a little bit further. So Wes Michael is the president and founder of Rare Patient Voice. He's actually been involved in rare and orphan diseases since 1998. He's been interviewing and surveying patients and caregivers, physicians, nurses, and advocacy leaders for quite some time. He has more than 40 years in market research as far as experience, and more than 20 years specifically in healthcare market research. And when they started, they were focusing on rare diseases, but now realized that they needed to open it up to all conditions. And they've been working with us now for a couple years. And basically what happens is you will sign up with them. Just for signing up, Aortic Hope receives $10 one time, and you will then be provided with surveys that are sent to you. They are all anonymous as far as the way that you answer them. If your answers match their needs of the provider that they're working with, then you will receive a payout. And this payout can be anything from $20 to $150. Sometimes they may want you to watch a video or be part of a Zoom group. I'm not sure. I haven't been great. I have not won the big one yet. I've won them in some other market research. I've had a larger payout, but they pay out fast, and really the biggest payout is that you're helping the medical community that surrounds themselves with your medical condition. So again, it's an easy way that if you wanted to help Aortic Hope, or you wanted to help market researchers or nurses or doctors or medical device companies, this is the way to do it. And again, it is it's anonymous, and we're going to get $10 every time a new person signs up, and you can earn up to $150 for participating. So that is Rare Patient Sunday with Rare Patient Voice. Click on that link and check them out. All right, fully into October now, and we start off with Medical Monday. We decided to go into emotional support. So it is Emotional Wellness Month for the month of October. And I think before you even get into talking about emotional wellness, you got to know what it means, right? So what exactly is emotional wellness? But according to the National Wellness Institute, wellness is actually defined as an active process through which people become aware of and make choices towards a more successful existence. I would never have defined it as that, but that's what the definition is. And if you want to look, they actually break wellness out into 6 dimensions. So you can have occupational wellness, physical wellness, social wellness, intellectual wellness, spiritual wellness, and emotional wellness. So again, emotional wellness is defined more closely as it's an awareness and an understanding and an acceptance of our feelings and our abilities to effectively manage our emotions through changes and challenges. And in Evolve, writer Angus White shares the top 7 tips for improving emotional wellness. Let's go through some of those real quick. All right, number 1, identify your emotions. If you want to have a healthier emotional wellness to your life, you have to know what those emotions are. So you got to identify them first. Then you have to learn how to express your emotions, and you want to express them in a healthy way, a manner in which is healthy for you and healthy for maybe the recipient that you're sharing that with. You also want to learn how to manage your stress. And I'm not talking just about meditation. We talked all about this before. That would be eating better food, drinking lots of water, getting lots of sleep, moving your body, having some exercise. I mean, this is the foundation for having any type of wellness. You might want to learn some mindfulness. And this does not mean yoga. Everybody says mindfulness, I have to do yoga. Mindfulness, I have to meditate. There's small parts of this. Mindfulness can just be breath work. It could be being aware of your surroundings, being aware of your inside surroundings. It's really, it's a state of mind. It's a state of practice, paying attention to your internal and external stimuli. So there's a lot that goes into learning mindfulness. We will actually be starting a mindfulness workshop. So one of the wonderful things that we're coming up with for 2023, it will be free by a community member who survived a dissection, who's been teaching mindfulness and learning mindfulness for many, many, many years now. So we will give you more information about that in the future. But it's also important to find balance in your life. Life is not about working and then coming home and going to sleep. You have to find a way to make your health a priority, to make your emotions a priority, your spirituality, if that's important to you, a priority. It's finding balance and finding purpose. So a lot of people in this community lose their ability to continue in their job, to continue in their career. And I don't know about you, but I've been working since I was 14. And so to lose my career, which was in HR and recruitment, I lost a huge part of my identity. So I thought. And then I had to figure out what my purpose was. And I started off with a volunteer match website just to kind of figure out where my skill set is, what I was willing to do, how much exposure to germs I was willing to put myself in, and just learned a lot about lots of different volunteer jobs that are out there. I had no idea that reading essays for an SAT was a job, but it is. And it's helpful. And eventually I found my purpose in co-creating and co-founding Aortic Hope. And my purpose became, in order to help myself, I had to help others. So it was a mutually beneficial new job that I found. You also want to seek connection and support. We talk about this all the time. There's so many ways of doing that, whether we connect you with a mentor, whether you go through Mended Hearts and you look for someone to talk to one-on-one, whether you just join a Facebook page or you're on Instagram or you join our support groups. It's probably the easiest thing that you can do is hop onto one of the support groups, participate as little or as much as you'd like, and learn from some other people the tricks of the trade that's helped them in their recovery and management. But if you ever feel like you are struggling with your own emotional wellness, you really need to seek a therapist or at least tell your physician. There's no reason you should be struggling. There's no reason that you should be hurting. These are all things that somebody can help you with starting down that road of recovery for your emotional and mental health and wellness. So that was Medical Monday. All right, we are moving on to Topic Tuesday. You know, Topic Tuesday is very interesting. Because if you've never heard of a pseudoaneurysm, it's going to scare the poop out of you because it sounds so scary. Or it doesn't sound scary, and then you read it and you think this is kind of scary. It's not scary. These are things that can happen, and hearing about different terminology and things that can happen, I personally find very empowering, because then if I hear the word, I'm not so scared, and I now know that I can ask questions about it. I believe in being as very educated about a condition I have as possible. There are plenty of people that do not see things the way I see it. They would rather not know. They find that too scary, and that is okay. No one size fits all here, but pseudoaneurysm, it's very interesting. Not many people have heard of it, and yet it is something that is in the community. It is something that is mentioned. Actually, our own board member, Tammy, who has been a host on here many times, she had a pseudoaneurysm less than 5 years after having her dissection. So it's very interesting. But what a pseudoaneurysm is, and you can see there's many different types of aneurysms. We have saccular. Look, it just looks like a bag hanging, right? Then you also have fusiform. I'm butchering the words, but that's your bulge. Or you can have a pseudoaneurysm, which almost looks like, right? Doesn't it look like there was a rupture and an aneurysm formed over top, like a bulging Band-Aid? Interesting. But this actually does happen because there was an injury to a blood vessel. So the artery actually leaks blood and then pools near the damaged area, kind of like a massive hematoma or bruise under the skin, right? But it's different than your true aneurysm that most of us find or discover by happenstance or whatever, by chance, right? And so it's different from a true aneurysm, which happens when the wall of a blood vessel stretches and forms a bulge. So true aneurysm forms that bulge. Pseudoaneurysm is an injury to the blood vessel, and blood will pool underneath that lining. So in WebMD, the article titled, "What is a Pseudoaneurysm?" author Rebecca Kutschmeiter explains the following. So what is the difference between a pseudoaneurysm and an aneurysm? So the words aneurysm and pseudoaneurysm sound similar, but they're very different conditions. So an aneurysm, again, as we mentioned, is a weak spot in a blood vessel that has started to stretch and formed a bulge. And if the outer wall, that outer layer, if that wall of the blood vessel continues to weaken, an aneurysm could rupture. Now, so a rupture carries a risk of internal bleeding that can be very life-threatening. So we don't want ruptures to happen. A pseudoaneurysm is due to an injury that actually occurred that pierces the wall of the blood vessel. So the opening in the blood vessel allows blood to leak out and pool around that surrounding tissue. So it might look like an aneurysm, but your blood vessel won't stretch into the bulge that characterizes a true aneurysm. So now what's the reason for a pseudoaneurysm? It's very important. So a pseudoaneurysm is often a complication of cardiac catheterization. So how could that affect us if we didn't have a cardiac cath? But let's talk about what a cardiac cath is. So a cardiac cath is a procedure for diagnosing an actual heart condition. So your doctor inserts this flexible tube with a camera either into your artery in your leg or through an artery in your wrist. And then if the tube injures this vessel, it can result in a pseudoaneurysm. So if you're having one of those, you might want to talk to your doctor about that and about the chances of getting a pseudoaneurysm. But it can also be caused because of an infection, pancreatitis. How the two have anything to do with each other, I don't know, but it can be caused by pancreatitis. A rupture of a true aneurysm. So think about this: if that true bulge ruptured, but then somehow formed like this seal, well, then that's a pseudoaneurysm. It's no longer just a traditional aneurysm. You could develop a pseudoaneurysm because of surgery or from any other type of trauma that could occur. I would suppose that could be a car accident if an airbag went off or something like that. So the symptoms of a pseudoaneurysm, that's different. To a typical aneurysm, you don't really have a lot of symptoms most of the time. But with a pseudoaneurysm, there's usually pain and swelling at the site of the blood vessel damage. So you might actually feel a lump under your skin where the blood is pooling in tissue. It might feel painful to the touch, could feel like it's throbbing, but your doctor will actually notice a whooshing sound. It's called bruit, and it's caused by blood pulsing under the skin. But if you would like to learn more about pseudoaneurysms because you're just really super curious or you have one, there is an article. You should check out that article with the link there. I personally find all this stuff so interesting. And I also like to learn a lot about things like this because for me, the more knowledge I have, the better off I am in case I feel something or I'm diagnosed with something. To me, it's not super scary, but could be to you. Okay. All right. Got a little comment. So interesting. Your graft failed, and that's where you developed your pseudoaneurysm. So it must have been, I'm wondering if your graft was kind of like a sleeve. So maybe it went over versus an anastomosis, which is where you would attach them together. I am not a doctor. I just pretend to be one in my second life. But that's so interesting. So where your graft was where yours formed. I'm wondering if that's the same thing that happened to our board member, Tammy. And I think the next time we have her on, we're going to ask her to talk about her pseudoaneurysm a little bit because, again, there is a Facebook page about pseudoaneurysms. So it's out there, but I don't know that much other than the articles and what I hear from people. So thank you for sharing. I do find it, I just find it fascinating because it is something that can happen to anybody. And I don't know if you have a connective tissue disorder or any type of syndrome. I know that Tammy, I believe, does not. So I always thought that maybe that had a play. Maybe there was a weakening of vessel and that's why it would happen. So I'm interested. I'm interested in learning more, Ryan. Thank you for sharing. It's very fascinating to me. Okay, we're moving on to Therapeutic Thursday because look at that and look at that. Look at that dog and look at that cat. Okay, they're super cute. So you know where this article is going. But according to CNN Health, there was a new study that showed that having a pet can boost your brain power. So there you go. If you've got pump head, just go get a dog. Just go get a fish. Grab a turtle. Get a pet. And Sandy Lamott explains in detail how having a long-term pet, a companion, could actually delay memory loss and other kinds of cognitive decline, is what was in this new study. But pet ownership was especially beneficial for working verbal memory, such as memorization of word lists. And this was according to preliminary research. I have a dog and it doesn't seem to help me. Actually, I think maybe the stress of the responsibility maybe makes my memory worse. That's not true. I love my dog. My dog is my unregistered therapy dog. I'm telling you, it helps my brain. And here's why, because we talked about this connection. When I'm stressed, just petting my dog takes it in. And then when I'm not so stressed, I can retain things better. But to their knowledge, this was the first study. Their study was the first to actually consider the effect of duration of pet ownership on cognitive health. So first author Jennifer Applebaum, who's a sociology doctoral candidate and National Institute of Health pre-doctoral fellow at University of Florida, had shared this with CNN. It's not just cats and dogs that boost the brain. People in the study also cared for rabbits and hamsters and birds and fish and reptiles. And although dogs were most prevalent, followed by cats. So again, it's anything. Just go grab a snail off the street. Anything you have to care for. But it's funny they're not mentioning children. But how children doesn't increase your memory. That says something right there. But interacting with animals, we already know, has been shown to decrease levels of cortisol, which is a stress-related hormone. And that means it's lowering your blood pressure. Other studies have found that animals can reduce loneliness and increase feelings of social support and boost your mood. And that came from News and Health. So if you want more information about how furry and scaly and wet little friends can help us with our mood, check on that link below. And that took us to First Friday fundraiser. Oh, I'm so excited about this. So this last Friday, as we do with the first Friday of every month, we launched our First Friday fundraiser with an organization that we had been doing work with for many years, but they just relaunched their website. And so it's a whole big launch campaign. How many times can I say the word launch, right? This is an organization called More Than Cards. And they're wonderful. And I first heard about More Than Cards when I was, again, part of the Crohn's and colitis community. Somebody was selling greeting cards. and it had the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America, large organization, logo on the back of the card. So I knew that in purchasing these cards for the holidays, a portion of my sales was going to that organization. See where I'm going with this? More Than Cards is a greeting card company that actually provides a portion of the sales back to Aortic Hope. This is just a small sampling of what they do here. But they offer exceptional quality and an extensive variety of cards to choose from. You can even personalize your cards. So they've got 5x7, 6x8, foil, embossed, personalized, bargain card, even their bargain cards, they're incredible quality. You can actually add your own photo too. But here's a really fun part. Check this out. Artwork. You can have your kids or your grandkids fun little stick figure, flower, anime, whatever pictures that they draw. You can have that made into your greeting card for the holiday. And that's what you send out to your family. And in return, the children receive a $50 gift card. Where to, I'm not sure, but they get a $50 gift card. So look at this massive win-win. You submit the children's artwork. It's going on an Aortic Hope logo on the back greeting card. Now your whole family gets to be excited about seeing your child or your grandchild's beautiful piece of art, and Aortic Hope's getting a portion of this of the sale. To me, it's a win-win, but you got to act soon because you want to have enough time to order them and then be able to turn them around and mail them out to all of your family and friends. So there's a link right there. Choose Aortic Hope as your charity of choice. They also work with juvenile diabetes foundations. There's a lot of different foundations on there, and they're so customer service friendly. They're based here in the United States. They print everything on shop local, and they just do an amazing business. And they were really created for the sole purpose of just trying to give back, to the community with a variety of different nonprofits that they believe in and that they support. And this is their busiest time of year, of course. So if you want to get in, you want to get in now, and you want to click the link and order your cards. And we have this relationship with them all year, but now is obviously the busy time. Okay, Survivor Series. We talked about this when we mentioned Tammy Brown. This is how you can have your story highlighted and showcased. You want to be on our Survivor Series? Here's what you need to do. And I tell you, the community does want to hear from you. You have no idea how validating your story will be. First of all, it's going to be therapeutic for you. It might be hard. I get it. I had to do a couple of them in the beginning. It was hard. But when you share your story with somebody, you are validating their own experiences. You are also creating a situation where they now might come up with questions to bring to their own doctors. So it's an educational experience. It's an inspirational experience. And it is truly going to be something that's therapeutic for you. And I bet you that if you tell your story now, and then in 5 years you tell your story, you're going to be amazed at how differently you tell the story. Because in 5 years, you might be telling your story about what it is you're doing now. Like what makes it different now versus when you first were in the recovery stages of aortic disease. So we share these stories certain Saturdays during the month, but we want to know about the symptoms you experienced. We want to know the process of your diagnosis, if at all possible. And this is because we will probably share your information not only on our website, not only on Facebook, on YouTube. It might also get shared by Think Aorta US, and it could possibly be picked up by anybody. Obviously, once it's out there, it could be picked up anywhere. So if there was an issue with your diagnosis, or if you received golden standard of care, we want to share this so that first responders and emergency room physicians can learn, so that residents can learn, so that nursing school students can learn from your story and your experience. That's why it's so important. So you just need to complete a form. We will be in touch with you. Interestingly enough, there's 3 different ways you can share. You can do it in written form, which is perfectly acceptable. You can do a pre-recorded video that will be shown then on YouTube. So if you're concerned that you're going to be overly emotional, or you want to do costume changes, I don't care. Do it pre-recorded so that our wizard of production can go ahead and edit that out for you. Or you can be super duper daring and go live like I am right now on YouTube and interact with the community if they have questions and comments, and just tell your story. Whichever way you choose is the way that's right for you, and we will all be better off for learning your story, and we'll all appreciate it. So we also have a follow-up which is called Where Are They Now, which is what I was hinting to. If you've participated with us before and it's been a couple years, where are you now? There's a whole other form you can fill out. We want to know. We want to know. We want to see, have you done a triathlon? Are you back to work? Look what's going on in your life. Share with everybody what you're doing. How are you living your best life? That's the Survivor Series. So for those of you, Kristen, Ryan, Mike, if you haven't shared your story, this is the post for you. Share your story. Okay, we're moving on to Sunday of last week. And this was Scientific Sunday. So research is another way, that you can help the community. And there's a couple research studies that we've got on our website right now that were active for 2022. The first one that's still happening right now is through Maimonides Medical Center out of Brooklyn, New York. And this is through their Department of Psychiatry. This is a survey that has to do with the study of the impact of aortic disease on mental health and lifestyle. This is the only study I've seen so far that gets really into the nitty-gritty of PTSD by asking a couple very simple questions. I've done this study twice now, and I have to tell you, from the first time to the second time, I notice a difference in my answers. Again, anytime that you can have your own life validated and you can see that you are moving up that hill of recovery, it's so eye-opening. It's so amazing. But if you've never done it before, please do it. And if you've done it before, please do it. The link is here. It's the Impact of Aortic Disease Study. The goal here is to really create an article that's going to get published that just shares with doctors the true impact of aortic disease and emergencies and non-emergencies on our mental health, on our caregivers' mental health. And the goal is to see if maybe we can somehow one day see nationwide social workers and psychologists coming into all of our rooms to talk to us or following up in clinic when we're more of ourselves. Just let's get out of that stigma of the mental health issues that come with traumatic or non-traumatic health related events, right? So this is what the survey is going to do. In addition, UT Health of Houston, we do a lot of work with Dr. Siddharth Prakash, and he's so gracious with his time. And every other month, he comes on and does Ask a Doctor strictly on Facebook as of now, or hopefully we'll get some changes for that in the future. And actually, he's on usually the second Tuesday every other month, gives us about 3 hours of his time, answers your questions live. Well, he has a couple projects right now that you can look into. The first one, everybody's favorite project right now, is exertional blood pressure and personalized exercise prescriptions for thoracic aortic disease. In a nutshell, everybody wants to know, what exercise can I do? We all have similar situations, and yet there is not a one size fits all exercise plan. So they are still doing a research study about this, and you do this study in Texas, and this gives you everything about each of their studies, what you're going to expect, what's going to happen, what the potential outcomes are, what the goals are. The second one is genetic causes of bicuspid aortic valve disease. So again, bicuspid aortic valve. Your valves are supposed to have 3 leaflets, and they go in and out. Of course, I don't have 3 things in my hands, but they open up. When it's bicuspid, it's 2, bi. There's also monocuspid, which I think is 1, which seems odd to me, but bicuspid aortic valves is different, it's special. It has a tendency to create aneurysms. What do we know about aneurysms? They have a tendency to dissect. So you typically don't know that you have BAV, or bicuspid aortic valve disease, until you end up having a scan for a reason. Maybe you're experiencing shortness of breath, which doesn't necessarily always come with BAV, but for whatever it is, you've had a scan and now you're being told you have bicuspid aortic valve. Now you're going to be monitored. But is there a genetic component to this, or is it just a one-off scenario? That's what this project number 2 is going to go into. Again, goes over everything you're going to expect and what the goals and outcomes are. Project 3, the role of mosaicism in the penetrance and severity of thoracic aortic disease. Don't really understand what this means, but They are basically hypothesizing that two types of common mosaicism, sex chromosome loss and clonohematopa, I can't pronounce it, can drive the progression of aortic aneurysms and dissections. Yeah, lesson learned, read ahead before you try to read some of the words. Doesn't matter. Check out this study, see if it pertains to you. And if you are interested or you have questions, you can send a message right over to them and they will be happy to answer that for you. So we are almost wrapped up here. I want to talk about another fundraiser that we had started that is it's beyond a fundraiser at this point. It will live as a staple underneath of our Hope Shop area. That this should be up by the end of the week. This is an organization called Jewel Promise. We're always looking for companies, organizations, products, anything that can help the community, something that is maybe medical related, like our help belt seatbelt covers, which are also underneath of our Hope Shop, which are seatbelt covers. They're Velcro that go on your belt that would immediately tell a first responder if you had an aortic dissection. You can choose that. Aortic aneurysm, thoracic or abdominal, simple medical alert, Marfan syndrome, Lowy Dietz, all these different sayings in 3 different types of colors with an area for emergency medical card. That's just one of the items that are on there. But again, we're always looking for companies that come up with fun products or different products. More Than Cards is another one of them. Here's another one, Jewel Promise. So they actually created these items for us, and we do get a small kickback from your purchase. 25% of your purchase actually comes back to us. So they've got wine glass charms. Let's see, I think we've got a couple other pictures here. This is, they call it a handbag tag, but honestly, if you have a medical ID bracelet, if you have if you have a pocketbook, or if you have a key ring, this can clip onto anything. It probably could clip onto your dog's tag collar. In addition, they also have, let's go through these here. So we have the wine glasses. I just lost my ability. Okay. Okay, here it is, a necklace and a bracelet and a keychain. And what I love about these products is, as with all of our products, somebody's going to ask you, what is this? What's aortic hope? What are these hearts? Like, what is this? That's the goal, right? Swag. We always say grab some swag and start a conversation today, because that gives you an opportunity to tell people about aortic disease. Dissections are rare, but aortic disease is much more common than you think. So grabbing any type of item, whether it's our aortic disease awareness car magnets, or one of these items from Jewel Promise, or your own seatbelt cover, or an item from our swag, our shop, Teespring, it all allows an opportunity for someone to ask you about it. And that's the key. So I just wanted to share that with you again. When you go to our blog, you can go to the search bar and just type in First Friday Fundraiser. It's the second one down. And soon this will be up right here where our Hope Shops are, where you'll be able to find all of these items. Here are the seatbelt covers we were talking about. There's your car magnet we were discussing. If I move my head, you can get a glimpse of that. So this is the Teespring shop. So a lot of information for you to check out there. That was a lot of information for today. So we are going to pick a name random from the individuals that were participating with us. And thank you all so much for interacting with us. You never know when we're going to do a giveaway. It happens. It's kind of like the lottery. You got to play to win. But I appreciate all of you sharing your personal stories, your thoughts. That's what we need. That's what drives this. And don't forget to click like and to click share and subscribe, because we have so many fun things coming up. Privately, we're going to have bingo towards the end of this month, and you want to get in on that Halloween bingo, because you want to talk about prizes. There's 10 rounds, tons of fun, always free, always here just to provide fun for you and take a minute to get outside of ourselves with this disease. But no more waiting. We're going to go through here, and we are going to say congratulations. There's the round of applause to Mike. Mike, you are our big winner of the $25 gift certificate to Lawrence Hope. I hope you pick out something wonderful, and we will we would like you to please email us your information. You will be emailing us at info@aortichope.org. That's info@aortic, AORTIC, hope, HOPE.org. please send us your mailing information, full name and mailing address. And oh, actually, we're just going to be able to email you the code. I totally forgot. There's a claim code that you can use online. Zap us an email and we'll get you that claim code so you can make your purchase right away with your $25 promo code. So again, thank you, everybody. We will be back next Monday, same time, week's worth of information, all kinds of other goodies we're going to be announcing. And like and share and subscribe. This was our week in review. We appreciate your support and we'll see you next Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Take care.